Howdy, folks. I told you I'd be back. I had to take some time, man. We all be going through shit in life. And this thing with the agency is what has been all consuming. Now, I say that in past tense. It's still a big factor in my life. It's still eating up a lot of my time, my effort, my energy, my sanity. However, things are looking up. Um, Resolution, conclusion, closure, all on the horizon. Uh, I'm no longer working with Corinne, nor am I hiding her name. We've established that. I'm not hiding anyone's name. I've received a green light from the director himself, Cody. Uh, won't see this often, man, but literally hats off to you, Cody. Uh, your agency and I would probably no longer have a working relationship if it wasn't for you. And on the same platform that I've called you out and slung mud in your direction, I'll give credit where credit's due. However, that's not why we're here. A little while ago, while I was calming the seas that are my life, I made a post on the channel that contained material about social environmental disorders. That's a subject I want to talk about. It's a subject that hits home for me. I have one of the biggest social environmental disorders. That being antisocial personality disorder. I have mentioned in previous content that we'd get into that a little bit. I guess this is what that looks like. I'd like to read something to you from Google. Google says several mental health diagnoses are significantly influenced by social and environmental factors, including anxiety disorders, depression, schizophrenia, eating disorders, and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Social and environmental factors can exacerbate, trigger, or contribute to the development and maintenance of these conditions. I want to read that last part again. Social and environmental factors can exacerbate, trigger, or contribute to the development and maintenance of these conditions. Okay. But ask yourself this. How many of us have even heard the term social and environmental disorders? And how much attention or treatment do those who suffer from social environmental disorders hear about or receive? Those are the questions that I would like for y'all to keep in the front of your brain as we go down this rabbit hole. Because when it says the social and environmental factors can exacerbate, trigger, or contribute to the development and maintenance of these conditions, what I hear at least is there's a whole unexplored arena within the mental health world and with how our mind works that is directly affecting our disorders and the things that ail us, but there's nothing being done about it. There's no light being shed on this particular arena over here called social environmental factors. And I'm going to tell you why. And you're going to hear it a bunch. You're going to get inundated with this. Is because the power that be in the mental health industry, which, let's face it, is big pharma, can't make any money off of social environmental factors and or disorders. Social environmental, non-chemical imbalanced, non-treatable with medication. So, Big Pharma says, no money there, doesn't need to be talked about, doesn't exist, nothing to even sweep under the rug. Scary, huh? So here's some specific examples of what I just read. Social anxiety disorder, for instance, is often linked to social and cultural expectations and experiences. Experiences like rejection, bullying, or trauma can contribute to the development or worsening of anxiety. Okay, what's important there is they use two key words: development and worsening. Okay, I can see how experiences like rejection, bullying, or trauma are A, social and cultural, and B, they can do some damage. We've all seen the effects of bullying. So, okay, yeah, I get that it can cause problems. What I don't get is if there's social and cultural experiences that develop or exacerbate anxiety. Now you have two controlled study groups. You have those that it has developed anxiety in, and those that it has made the existing anxiety worse in. Of those two groups, only one of them is treatable with medication because they had pre-existing anxiety that was, more often than not, at least in part, to a chemical imbalance. I don't believe that anxiety is ever 100% chemical imbalance based. It is just too socially affected. I believe that at base, anxiety is a social environmental disorder. Which brings me to my question. For this study group over here that developed anxiety because of social and cultural conditions, why, when they go to a psychiatrist for said anxiety, are they given a pill? Is this a magic pill that erases the social and cultural adversities that this person faced to develop this anxiety? Not likely. Well, not likely, my ass. Not possible. A pill like that don't exist. However, Big Pharma, not wanting to lose a customer, potential customer, not wanting to lose any potential revenue, has an agenda, and it had to have been spoken at some point in time. They have an arrangement with mental health providers. A mental health provider is not stupid. A mental health provider knows that if you have anxiety that was developed by social and cultural adversities, giving you a pill will not fucking work. But what do? They give you a pill. Holy shit. Now, depression is the next one. I will be the first to say chemical imbalance all the way. But let's get a comprehensive and complete look at the material. Social isolation, loss of support, and stressful life events are known to increase the risk and severity of depression. Depression can also impact social interactions and further contribute to feelings of isolation. Okay. Total sense. I can't, even I can't find an argument there. However, I've noticed in my mental health struggles, trials, tribulations, treatments, placements, hospitalizations, etc., that when dealing with depression, yes, a pill is given. That quick, off the bat. Doesn't even need to be discussed. However, with depression, the social and environmental factors that are exacerbating your depression are actually explored and treated unlike they are with anxiety. It's almost like depression is so wide affecting. Depression happens to such a large percentage of the human race that they gotta treat that one all the way. They can't just, turn that into a profit margin. Depression is one that's taken seriously. That's why I can't find any argument there. They treat the chemical imbalance and they treat the social environmental. They acknowledge the social environmental factors when it comes to depression. Anxiety, they don't. Anxiety is just treated as a chemical imbalance. Schizophrenia, this one's interesting. Some research suggests that schizophrenia may be influenced by social stressors, and social adaptation. Adverse childhood experiences such as maltreatment and living in urban areas. I find that a very hot button statement. We're going to talk about that on a whole nother episode. Such as maltreatment and living in urban areas have also been linked to the development of schizophrenia. Now, again, schizophrenia, thoroughly chemical imbalance based. I get why pills are given for that. I don't see, doesn't mean I'm right here, I'm just saying I don't see and haven't seen, it hasn't been my experience, and I have not been witness to the social and environmental factors being paid much attention to. Therefore, again, fits under the classic heading of, this is a good patient, this is a dollar sign. We can have this person on medication until the day they die. We don't need to worry about the social and environmental factors. Eating disorders. Eating disorders are strongly influenced by social and cultural pressures, including media portrayals of ideal body image and cultural norms around food and weight. Okay. What I just read says, what I get from what I just read, from what Google just told me, eating disorders are purely social cultural, environmental in their existence. That particular mental health issue has nothing to do with a chemical imbalance in the brain. However, someone with an eating disorder is given what? Medication. Best example right here, folks. A 100% complete social environmental disorder being treated with medication pushed by Big Pharma. Now, do you think Big Pharma is going to stand up and say, wait, why is this person being given our product? They don't have a chemical imbalance. They got a social environmental thing going on. Stop giving them our drugs. No, you're never going to hear that. That's a no-brainer. But here's the one that doesn't make sense. Here's the one you can't quite come up with an answer for. And I'm going to leave you with this thought. We'll get into the rest later in another episode. Ask yourself this. Why isn't that being said by the psychiatrist, by the mental health industry? Big Pharma is not the mental health industry. Big Pharma is the drug dealer that capitalizes off of the mental health industry. Why doesn't the mental health industry say, I'm not going to give this person this pill because they have an eating disorder. They have a social, I'm going to treat them for a social environmental disorder. Why are they forced to push a drug that serves no purpose? Mental health industry, are you being regulated, governed, bullied, and shot called on by Big Pharma? Until next time, folks, I missed you. I'm back. And that which does not kill you only makes you fucking stronger. The world better look out.